What if I told you that the man long suspected of killing Tupac Shakur was never arrested, never charged, and died just 2 years later in a burst of gang violence? You've heard the name Tupac Shakur in music, culture, and headlines, but in the shadows of that legacy is another name, Orlando Anderson. Known in the streets as Baby Lane, Anderson has been at the center of rumors and investigations surrounding the murder of one of hip-hop's most iconic figures. This is the story of Orlando Anderson, the alleged killer of Tupac Shakur, a tale of gang rivalries, industry beef, missed justice, and an ending that left more questions than answers. Early life from student to gang member, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson was born on August 13, 1974, in Compton, California, a city deeply associated with both hip-hop culture and gang violence. Raised by his grandparents, Anderson's early life was not what you'd expect from someone later linked to such a violent narrative. Teachers described him as a smart and calm student. He attended Taft High School and later graduated from Dominguez High, showing that at one point he had options beyond street life. But Compton in the 80s and 90s was a battleground. The Southside Compton Crips were one of the dominant gangs in the area, and they often clashed with the Bloods and other rival factions. Despite doing well in school, Anderson slowly became drawn into this world. Whether it was peer pressure, survival, or a desire for street credibility, he eventually aligned himself with the Southside Compton Crips, one of the most feared crews in the region. His gang affiliation wasn't just a rumor, it was confirmed by police and known in the streets, and it would set the stage for a confrontation that would ripple across the entire music world. Tensions between Orlando Anderson and Tupac's crew began months before the shooting in Vegas. In July 1996, a significant incident occurred that escalated everything. Anderson and other Crips reportedly jumped Trevin Lane, a member of Death Row Records, and stole his Death Row medallion. In gang culture and hip-hop symbolism, this was more than theft. It was a challenge. That medallion wasn't just jewelry. It was a badge of allegiance to Suge Knight and the blood-affiliated Death Row Empire. Stealing it was like planting a flag in enemy territory. Word of the incident spread quickly among gang members and hip-hop insiders. Many believe this robbery triggered a desire for revenge among Death Row affiliates. Even though no official charges were filed, the streets talked, and when Lane saw Anderson again 2 months later in Vegas, he wasn't about to let it slide. The date was September 7, 1996. Tupac Shakur had just attended the Mike Tyson vs. Bruce Seldon boxing match at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, one of the biggest nights in sports. But the real fight didn't happen in the ring. It happened in the casino hallway. After the match, Trevin Lane spotted Orlando Anderson in the lobby and pointed him out to Tupac. The result was instant surveillance footage shows Tupac leading a group that ambushed Anderson, throwing punches and stomping him on the floor. Anderson didn't fight back. Security broke it up, and both parties went their separate ways. But behind the scenes, retaliation was brewing. Anderson had just been publicly humiliated by one of the biggest rappers in the world, in front of cameras and with ties to his gang rivals. In gang culture, that's not something you just walk away from. A few hours later, Tupac and Suge Knight were riding in a black BMW heading to a nightclub. As they stopped at a red light on Flamingo Road, a white Cadillac pulled up next to them and gunfire erupted. Tupac was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, and once in the thigh. Suge Knight was grazed but survived. Tupac died 6 days later in the hospital on September 13, 1996. Although the attack happened in a busy area with many witnesses, the killers got away. No one was arrested, and the case quickly became clouded by fear, silence, and gang codes. The case might have faded into myth if not for the revelations that came years later. In 2011, Greg Kading, a former LAPD detective, released a bombshell book titled Murder Rap. In it, he claimed that Sean Diddy Combs allegedly offered $1 million to Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, Orlando Anderson's uncle, to kill Tupac and Suge Knight. Kading said Keefe D confessed that Orlando Anderson was in the car with him that night and was the one who pulled the trigger. Anderson's final days and death. On May 29, 1998, less than 2 years after Tupac's death, Orlando Anderson was killed in a gang-related shootout at a car wash in Compton. According to police reports, Anderson and several others got into a confrontation with rival gang members. Multiple people opened fire, and Anderson was fatally shot along with 2 others. He was only 23 years old. His death closed the door on any possible confession or legal resolution regarding his role in Tupac's murder. Some saw it as karma. Others saw it as further evidence that the streets don't wait for justice. They deliver their own. But one thing was clear. With Anderson gone, the full truth of what happened on that Vegas night died with him. Or so we thought. The legacy of Orlando Anderson. Orlando Anderson is one of the most notorious unknowns in hip-hop history. He was never a rapper, never a public figure, but his name is forever etched into the story of Tupac Shakur's murder. Documentaries, books, YouTube deep dives, and podcasts have dissected his every move, every rumor, and every police report. To some, he was just a gang member caught up in something bigger than himself. To others, he was a cold-blooded killer who got away with murder. His life is a cautionary tale about how gang culture, fame, and retaliation collide, with deadly results. It's also a reminder of how easily justice can be delayed when fear, loyalty, and silence dominate a case. The murder of Tupac Shakur remains one of the most talked about unsolved crimes in American history. And at the center of that story stands Orlando Anderson, the alleged killer whose life was just as complex and controversial as the crime he's accused of committing. Was he the shooter? Was he a scapegoat? Or was he both? A young man raised in violence, thrown into the spotlight, and consumed by the same world that made him. One thing is certain. Until the full truth is proven beyond doubt, Orlando Anderson's name will continue to live in mystery, suspicion, and legend, forever tied to the last moments of Tupac Shakur. A legacy of shadows and silence. The story of Orlando Anderson, the alleged killer of Tupac Shakur, is a haunting reminder of how truth and tragedy often exist in the same space, separated only by silence, fear, and time. For nearly 3 decades, Anderson's name has lived in whispers, headlines, and speculation. And yet, justice has never been fully served. No courtroom conviction, no definitive closure, just questions that grow louder with each passing year. Anderson's death at just 23 cut short any chance of a clear resolution. We may never know if he truly pulled the trigger that ended Tupac's life, or if he was simply a soldier in a much larger war between record labels, gangs, and egos. But what we do know is this: Anderson was a product of his environment, shaped by the streets of Compton, consumed by a culture of retaliation, and ultimately claimed by the very violence that surrounded him. Tupac once said, "Reality is wrong. Dreams are for real." But the reality of Tupac's murder and Anderson's role in it is still a fog of contradictions and unanswered questions. As new evidence continues to emerge and fresh indictments are brought to light, maybe one day we'll finally uncover the full truth. Until then, Orlando Anderson remains a central figure in a mystery that continues to captivate the world. His story is more than just a footnote in hip-hop history. It's a critical piece of the puzzle in one of the most iconic unsolved murders of all time. And perhaps that's the greatest tragedy of all, when the truth dies with the people who lived it. Hit the like and subscribe button for more Underworld Icons. Click the video above for more Underworld Icons.